Thanksgiving was always loud in our family. Clinking silverware, off-key singing, mismatched chairs crammed around a table that never fit quite right. I used to love it until I didn't. This year, I didn't get an invite, but I still showed up. I told myself it was about my son. He needed to see his grandparents, to feel the kind of warmth holidays promise. Maybe I believed in second chances more than I should have. We pulled up just after noon, arms full cranberry pie, stuffing, my grandmother's gravy recipe scribbled on an old napkin. My son carried paper turkeys he made in class. He was proud. I was hopeful, but the porch felt colder than it should have. Something in the air held still, like breath before bad news. I knocked. Once, twice, the door opened just a crack. There she was. My mother. Same eyes as mine, just older, tired, wearing the apron she always wore this time of year. Her lips pulled tight around a soft whisper. Sweetheart, it's better if you don't come in. Rachel's here, and she doesn't want to see you. She didn't meet my eyes, just like that. The door closed. No, I'm sorry. No, let's talk. Only the sound of laughter behind walls I once belonged in. I stood there frozen, my son at my side, holding a plate he decorated with glitter glue and blind trust. He looked up at me, confused. Are we too early, Mom? His voice cracked something open in me. I crouched down, met his eyes, and said the truth no child should hear on a holiday. No, baby. We're just not small enough to fit at their table anymore. I didn't cry right away, not when the door shut, not when the porch creaked beneath our shoes, not even when I heard my sister's laugh through the window, sharp and familiar, like it had never missed me. But my son, he didn't move. He stood there, both hands wrapped around that plate, the glitter turkey wobbling with each shaky breath. His voice was so small. Did we do something wrong, Mom? I knelt next to him, my arms around his soft coat, my cheek against his, still warm from the cold. I could smell the crayons on his fingers, see the mashed potatoes smudged on his sleeve. He tried so hard to help this morning. No, I whispered, brushing a tear from his chin before it had the chance to fall. We didn't do anything wrong. I didn't tell him that sometimes people hurt you just because they can. I didn't tell him that love, when filtered through ego, can forget its own face. I didn't say my mother had once told me family always finds its way back even though she had just proven otherwise. I just held him, and when I finally stood, I looked at that door one last time. Not in anger, in understanding that sometimes the people who raise you are the first ones to show you where not to stay. We walked back to the car, quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled. I buckled him in, kissed his forehead, and promised him pie at home. Just us, I said, starting the engine. His smile was slow, but it came, and for the first time that day, I realized I didn't want their table. I wanted peace. It didn't start with Thanksgiving. It started with 1,000 small cuts I kept pretending weren't bleeding. Rachel had a way of making every mess look like someone else's fault. She borrowed things and forgot to return them. Money, clothes, even stories. She once told her friends my promotion was hers. I found out when her fiancé congratulated me at a barbecue and called me by her name. I let it slide, over and over, because that's what you do when it's your sister. When your mom tells you she's struggling and you are always the strong one, but strength is in silence. It's not swallowing yourself to keep someone else whole. The last straw wasn't loud. It didn't come with a fight. It came with a text. She wanted to borrow again. This time, it was rent money. Said she'd pay me back. Same story, different month. But my savings were already thin, and my son needed braces. I told her no, simple. No excuses, just a boundary. She replied, "Wow, you've really changed." And maybe I had. Maybe I was tired of rearranging my life to fit inside someone else's disaster. I never told my mom about the message, but Rachel did, twisted it, said I was cold, that I'd abandoned her. My mother called me 2 days later, voice full of disappointment. She didn't try to understand. Told me to try harder to be the bigger person. I remember staring at the ceiling that night, wondering when being bigger started meaning invisible. That was the first time I thought about stepping away for good, not in anger. Just, out of self-respect, out of breath, I didn't tell anyone about the acquisition, not my mother, not Rachel, not even the cousin who always cheered for me in whispers, afraid to be too loud about loyalty. It happened the week before Thanksgiving. Just me, a lawyer I barely knew, and a signature that changed everything. Years of building late at night, meetings during my lunch breaks, working with one eye on the clock and the other on my son's daycare bill. It all led to this. My co-founder popped champagne. I just sat in my car afterward and cried. Not because I was sad, because I was still scared of how I'd learned to shrink good news, of how I'd been trained to hide joy like it was a luxury I didn't deserve, especially if Rachel was having a bad week, especially if my success made her feel smaller. But the truth was my life had grown, quietly, carefully, away from the chaos, and it wasn't just money. It was freedom, the kind of freedom where I didn't have to say yes just to keep the peace, where I could stop calculating emotional debt like interest rates, where I didn't need to beg for a chair at a table that required me to sit down and shut up. I went home that night, scooped mac and cheese into bowls, and told my son nothing had changed, but inside, I was different. I was done proving my worth. I didn't hang the contract on a wall, didn't post a press release, just folded it, tucked it into a drawer, and let it exist without permission, because the victory wasn't in being seen. It was in not needing to be. We lit candles anyway. In the middle of the kitchen table, between the box stuffing and the slightly burned rolls, two small flames flickered like they belonged there. Like we did, my son picked the playlist, nothing traditional, just songs he liked, a mix of cartoon themes and one random jazz track he insisted was cool Thanksgiving music. I let him press play. He danced while I carved the chicken. We couldn't find a turkey small enough, and honestly, it didn't matter. We made our own menu, our own mood. He folded napkins into little boats, poured sparkling water into wine glasses with both hands, kept calling it fancy. It was perfect, not because it looked like the Thanksgivings I grew up with, but because it didn't. There was no tension under the laughter, no walking on eggshells between bites, no side eyes over second servings or stories twisted into guilt traps, just peace. I watched him eat with his hands, giggling through mashed potatoes, and I realized this was the first time I'd ever felt safe on a holiday, not tolerated, not tiptoed around, not pretending everything was fine just to keep from being called dramatic. Safe. We took one photo, just one. My son, his face smeared with cranberry sauce, smiling like he had everything he needed. I posted it. No tags, no context, just a caption. Sometimes the best tables are the ones you build yourself. No one from my family liked it, but someone else did. Me. For the first time, I didn't look at the picture and search for what was missing, because nothing was. 2 days passed before the phone rang. I saw her name on the screen, Mom, and felt something twist in my chest. Not panic, not hope, just stillness. I let it ring twice before I picked up. Old habits. Her voice was soft, the way it always was when she wanted to sound gentle but not take responsibility. She asked how we were, said she'd been thinking about us. I waited, let her fill the space, then she said it. Rachel saw the photo. I didn't reply. She's upset, she continued, like that was supposed to mean something to me. Her fianki's been asking questions. He didn't know everything. Still, I said nothing. Maybe next time, she offered, hesitant. You could let me know before you post something like that? I almost laughed. Let her know? As if my joy was a threat. As if my healing was a weapon. I bit down on the part of me that still wanted to explain, to defend, to fix the silence between us with more of myself. Instead, I said, I have to go. Her pause was longer than mine. Okay, she finally said, "Well, happy Thanksgiving." She hung up, and I stood there, phone still in hand, wondering when it had become normal for love to feel like a transaction, a deal with shifting terms, a test I was always one wrong move from failing. But I didn't cry, I didn't call back, because somewhere between that porch and that dinner, I learned something. You don't owe anyone access to your peace just because they share your blood, and not everyone angry with your boundaries is someone you should be letting back in. The quiet that followed wasn't empty. It was a kind of space I hadn't known I needed, the kind where my own voice didn't have to fight for room, no one calling to correct my feelings, no guilt slipping in through text messages dressed as concern, just quiet. I thought it would hurt more. I expected the ache, the loneliness, the second guessing. I lived with that noise so long, it felt like silence would break me, but it did end. It healed me. I started noticing things, the way my son laughed more now, how my mornings didn't begin with anxiety sitting in my chest like a stone, the way my phone no longer lit up with requests dressed as emergencies. I didn't have to brace myself before family dinners or dodge emotional landmines hidden in casual conversations. There were no conversations, and still I was okay, better than okay. I stopped flinching when I opened emails, stopped rehearsing answers for questions no one had the right to ask. I even slept deeper, like my body finally believed I wasn't in a war anymore. It wasn't peace at first. It was unfamiliar, but every day that passed without their drama, their demands, their rewrites of who I was, I grew, not louder, just more solid, and I realized something I should have known years ago. You don't have to keep setting yourself on fire to warm people who leave you in the cold. Some love only survives if you keep shrinking, and I was done making myself smaller. Let them sit in their silence. I was finally learning to enjoy mine. It came late, not through my phone. She knew better than that. It came through someone else, a cousin, one of those middle ground family members who means well but never chooses a side. She's spiraling. The message said, "Rachel's saying you're trying to make her look bad." I sat on the couch, my son asleep in the next room, his blanket twisted around his legs like a soft shield. I stared at the words on the screen, trying to make her look bad. No mention of the door slammed shut in my face. No weight given to my son's heartbreak on that porch. No accountability for years of being drained, cornered, emotionally mugged. In broad daylight, I didn't reply, didn't defend myself, didn't list the dates, the dollars, the lies I swallowed like vitamins daily, bitter routine. Let her spin whatever story she needed. I had nothing left to untangle. That was the thing about letting go. It didn't come with fireworks, just quiet decisions that build a boundary one moment at a time. I turned off my phone, lit a candle, sat with myself, and felt something settle deep inside me. Not relief, not revenge, power, the kind that doesn't need witnesses, the kind you find after you stop asking people to see you clearly and decide instead to see yourself. They were loud about their rejection, but I didn't owe them my reaction. The photo, the joy, the peace I'd found, they weren't about her. They weren't about revenge. They were about survival, and survival, I've learned, can be gentle. It can look like chicken and cranberry sauce and a child smiling without shame. It can look like not answering when chaos calls your name. People love to say I shut them out, that I'm cold now, distant, not like I used to be. But the truth is, I didn't slam the door. They did. I just stopped holding it open after they walked away. For years, I stood in that doorway, arms outstretched, heart wide open. I excused the insults dressed as jokes, took the late-night calls that were never really about me, showed up with food, with money, with silence. I made myself small. So they could feel big. So Rachel could be the loud one, the wild one, the one who always needed saving. And I played the role they handed me, reliable, steady, invisible, until I didn't. The day I said no was the day I stepped out of that role. And that's what they couldn't forgive. Not betrayal, not disrespect, just growth. People who depend on your dysfunction will call your healing an attack.so now when they say I cut them off. I don't argue, let them think what they need to, because what really happened was quieter, simpler. They turned their backs, I just stopped chasing, and in that stillness, I found something they never offered me. Peace without permission. That door? I didn't nail it shut, but I built a wall behind it, not to trap them out, but to keep myself in. To protect the version of me that finally feels whole, not better than them, just no longer beneath them. I don't need them to understand. I don't need their apologies. I just need the life I'm building to stay mine. And it is, for once it really is. There was a time I would have waited for the apology that never came, waited for someone to say they were wrong, waited for my place at a table that never made room for me, but I'm done waiting because I finally see it for what it was. The door they shut in my face wasn't the betrayal. It was the reminder that no matter how much you give, some people only know how to take. I used to think being a good daughter meant being the one who bent first, that forgiveness meant forgetting, that family meant forever, even if it was hurting you, but I've unlearned that now. Love isn't a trap. It's not guilt dressed up as tradition. It's not standing in the cold with a smile plastered on your face because someone told you that's what strong people do. Strength is walking away and not looking back. It's choosing your own damn table even if it only seats two. It's watching your son laugh over leftovers and knowing he's not carrying the same wounds you did. It's silence when they call, not out of anger but out of peace. This Thanksgiving, I didn't knock, I lit candles. I danced in the kitchen. I let joy in without needing anyone's permission. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not heartbroken. I'm just done. Done trying to earn love that should have been safe. Done begging to be seen. Done proving I'm worthy of a seat that always came with a cost. I didn't lose a family. I found myself, and this version of me. She builds walls not to shut people out but to keep her peace in, and she never waits on the porch again.